The Pounce and Grapple mechanics. This mechanic, although fairly simple, can also be fairly complicated. It is simple to use, as you press the button and fly into a target, but it is quite complicated to know what pounce to use in what situation. If you perform this ability on a target below your own weight, or equal to your own weight, you will perform a pin down, where you pin a creature to the floor and end their life without them being able to do anything about it. In this aspect, the pounce is extremely strong and probably one of the best abilities in the game. However, when a target is above your weight, you will instead latch onto them, allowing them to buck you off, knock you into an object, and the pounce loses a lot of its strength and momentum in these fights. It is still fairly powerful under the right conditions, however. A warning: if you perform the pounce and hit a dino in the front that is heavier than you will bounce off performing a kick instead of a latch on. And if your target has the capacity to one-shot you or severely damage you, then this will most likely happen in these scenarios, so use it with care and aim it properly. Now, let's see what types of pounces you can perform, as there are 3 variations and each of them has its own use. First on the list, the damage pounce. This pounce can be used by holding down the left mouse button while latched on. When you're using it, spam the left mouse button until you see the animation of you biting the animal, and once you see the animation work, you hold down the left mouse button. This variation of pouncing deals no bleed damage and focuses entirely on doing raw damage. A full stamina bar is roughly worth 1000 damage and is best suited for dealing with targets below 1 ton in weight. It has a high stamina drain while performing it, and it takes a portion of your stamina away every second you are latched on, so use it with care. That said, your target also loses stamina while you are latched on, and it will slow down your target based on the amount of raptors latched on. Additionally, if you are a raptor who likes to fight using the bites and the dodges, the damage pounce is an excellent choice for you to have synergy with your playstyle. However, once again, its best usage is for targets below 1 ton, so keep that in mind, especially if you are solo, and that is because of stamina reasons. If you play in a pack, then I advise using this pounce only if you have enough raptors for the job. The pounce deals 1000 damage, so if a creature is for example 1.6 tons, you need 2 raptors. If a creature is 3 tons, you need 3 raptors, etc. You match the creature's weight with the equal amount of raptors, 1 raptor per 1 ton of weight. This is also the best pounce to use on a target that has been grappled to the floor. We will get into grappling in a bit, but for now let's just cover the other 2 pounces. Alright, next one on the list, the bleed pounce. This pounce can be used by holding down the right mouse button while latched on. Once again, spam the right mouse button until you see the clawing animation, and once you see the animation work, you hold it down. This variation of pouncing deals no raw damage and focuses entirely on doing bleed damage. The output of a bleed pounce is slightly unreliable, however, as it all depends on what your target is doing. Is he running? Is he standing still, sitting down? Or worst case scenario, is he able to use a multiple to stop the bleeding? So often this version of the pounce is considered inferior to the damage pounce, as the damage pounce has a steady, solid, reliable output, while the bleed pounce has to deal with all these factors and variables. That said, bleeding your target has some benefits. A bleeding target will regain stamina slower, and the lower its blood drops, the slower and slower this will become. Additionally, a heavily bleeding target can be forced to stop running entirely and forced into combat to defend itself, as running away will just intensify the blood loss, and if hit by more than one of these at the same time, it can bleed out the target while it is fleeing. Combined with the poor stamina regen of having low blood, it is an excellent tool to exhaust prey and to keep them exhausted for as long as possible. So to narrow its uses down to 2 points, it is good for a fast target who might try to flee after being ambushed, and it is good for targets with high weight so that you can target their blood pool instead of their massive HP pool. Also, the bleed pounce uses just as much stamina as the damage pounce does, having it take a portion of your stamina every second you are latched on. Once again, use it with care, and once again, your target loses stamina while you are latched on, and it will slow down your target based on the amount of raptors latched on. Then we get the third variation, the neutral pounce. This bounce can be used by latching on and pressing absolutely nothing. The neutral pounce does a little bit of damage and a little bit of bleed, but is simply inferior to the other two pounces. But it does have its uses, and they are more of a technical nature as neutral pouncing has its own unique benefits. The neutral pounce's biggest strength is that unlike the bleed in the damage pounce, is that it uses very little stamina to perform, only taking a tiny fraction of it every 5 seconds, unlike every 1 second with the other two variations. And this allows for a technical approach to drain your target's stamina to 0, as once again your target loses stamina while you are latched on, and it will also slow down your target based on the amount of Raptors latched on. Additionally, this buys a lot of time for your pack members to join in, so you can perform a grapple. And that is basically the two main usages for a neutral pounce. 1. To set up a grapple, or 2. To drain its stamina. Now, a little note. In a big pack, I strongly recommend using the bleed pounce for stamina draining. Because if you have less members, the neutral pounce is more useful due to the stamina cost. But if you have the members for it, you might as well use a bleed pounce so you can also take away their blood early on, and you can multitask this way. As for setting up a grapple, let's get into that and let's explain what to do during a grapple. Now, the grapple mechanic can only be used if more than one raptor pounces a target. The target will drop to its knees and succumbs to the combined weight of the raptors if one of the two conditions is met. Condition 1. Your combined weight is greater than the weight of your target, or 101% of your target's weight. Or condition 2. Your target is low in stamina and is essentially tired, lowering the weight threshold and essentially the amount of raptors latched on required for a grapple to occur. Also a handy trick for when you are setting up a grapple, while you are latched on, you are able to switch positions on the dinosaur by using your WASD keys while attached. This allows you to move over to allow pack members to pounce a target easier. Slot switching costs 5% stamina to switch to another slot, and my advice is that if you choose to use this mechanic, move yourself to the back slot or the front slot, kind of clearing the flanks so that your pack members can join in easier, and to keep risks of failure at a minimum, as when a pack member tries to latch on but bumps into a raptor that is already occupying a slot, they will fall to the floor and lose the ability to move for a few seconds, and this usually ends in a tragic way. Now when a grapple occurs, every member involved should instantly switch to dealing damage by spamming the left mouse button till the animation occurs and then hold the left mouse button. It is a bit unresponsive, just like the pounce, so you really wait for the animation to kick in and then you hold it down. The reason you want to switch to damage in general is because this will allow the other members of the pack who are not latched on to also bite the target that is being grappled, and then together you will simply nuke it with damage while it is incapable of moving. Make sure you always default to doing damage on a grapple unless your pack leader instructs you otherwise. Then if it goes wrong, you can just blame him or her. Now, I also have a golden tip for how to prevent friendly fire and pinning down your team members on accident. I'm sure we all been there and it feels horrible when you are responsible. So this is my golden tip and how I prevent getting into such a situation. See, instead of flying into my target, what I do is I run into my target like a guided missile, and as soon as I physically touch my target, I press the button. This will ensure that there's no room for error in between you and the target. However, make sure you attack properly and wait for an opening. Do not just run in head first and pray it does work, Juke it, blindside it. Now, if you're insecure about juking your target, or feel like you're not that great at combat, then stick around and check the next video that will dive deeper into combat and PvP. As a bonus, I'll also throw in a simple but yet effective exercise you can do to develop muscle memory for Raptor PvP that will help you a lot in actual gameplay. So see you in the next one.